Hello and welcome to another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. So, this episode is about RetroGameCon 2016. It's a huge event here in Syracuse, New York that if you haven't watched the channel before and know all about it from just past times where I've talked about it, it's an event that myself and many other great people work really hard to put on. It's got all the great convention staples, vendors, artists, music, celebrities, and we really worked hard and had a really great turnout this year, and it was super fun. It was, I don't know where I'd gauge it for most people of all the years because it was our fourth year, but it was our first 2-day convention, and it was probably my favorite overall. Just the great mix of vendors and artists and the people who attended, the guests who we got. I mean, it was just super fun. And not only that, but it was also super fruitful for the PlayStation Pursuit, which is really cool because I travel to find PlayStation games I want to get that I don't have, but it's really great that so many, and what do you see, came to me. They came to my hometown and to my event, so that was really cool. So stick around, I will show you what games I got at RetroGameCon. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to apologize once again because there are going to be no PlayStation favorites this episode because I want to get through all of the RetroGameCon pickups in one episode. But there's not just pickups, there's also some gifts I got this episode from some very generous friends. As always, going to these cons, it's probably the best thing about it, going to these cons, is seeing all my friends, my gamer buddies that I don't get to see throughout the year or only at events like this. So it's really cool. We had a lot of friends come from out of town, and then when they were generous enough to give me some games for the Pursuit, that was awesome too. But starting off, I'll show a game I already have that in doing a past episode of PlayStation Pursuit, I was testing out some games on the PS1, and I found out my copy of the game didn't work anymore. So I had to buy, because it was only like $2, another copy of Tekken 3, which was a past PlayStation favorite, first episode I believe. This is a fantastic game, so I had to get that back so it would be working. So that was the first pickup. The next one I got, there's a game I'm going to show later on, which is one of my, I don't know if it's a grail, but it's a very hard to find game on PS1, and I've seen it a few times, but always has evaded me, and now I got it at a very good price. But the guy who I bought it from, his name was Ken, and he was set up next to my buddy Pat Milligan at River City Retro. And I bought the one game from him, and we were talking, and I was telling him about the PlayStation Pursuit, and he, out of the blue, on I believe the second day, he came up to me, and he just wanted me to have this other game that he knew I didn't have from a previous conversation. So, super thankful to get this, and the game is Pandemonium 2. And I talked about Pandemonium 1 as a PlayStation favorite in a past episode, and I've never played the second one. And the only thing I know bad about this game is that the character designs radically changed. They tried to make the girl all sexy, and the other dude changed for like a worse design. So it's one of those weird decisions that I'm like, really, marketing team? You thought that helped your game? Or actually the designers did that. But gameplay wise, still looks to be an awesome 2.5 dimensional 3D graphics platformer. So super excited to play that one. And then my buddy Ryan, Retro Rye guy on YouTube, he was helping a guy who was a vendor, a friend of his. So we got to see him again, but he also stopped me later in the day after things slowed down a little bit, and he goes, I want to give you these. So thank you, Ryan, for these additions. I did not have, I remember I was wondering if I had one of the three, and I didn't. So very happy to get all three of these. So first one is Streak Hoverboard Racing, which is it's one of those like games that could be super fun and underrated, or it could just be crap. Never played it though, and that potential, it's like Schrodinger's game. It could or could be good or bad. It's dead or not. I don't know. I'm trying to make an analogy to Schrodinger's cat, but anyway, it could go either way. So right now, it's both. It's both good and bad until I play it. The next game I got it seems like it's a common game, but I really don't see this very often, and I'm glad that he gave this to me, even though it's a common game. I still needed it, and it's Mike Tyson Boxing. Not Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Mike Tyson Boxing. It looks to be more realistic. But seems like it might be pretty good too, actually. A lot of modes and stuff on it, like it says on the back, so I'm excited to see that. And then this is a game by 989 Studios, which they made a lot of the later era PS1 entries in popular franchises like Twisted Metal, Cool Borders. After the original teams moved on, this team made some, and some of the games were good, some of them were kind of bad. But this is a fighting game. Kind of looks like it's fully 3D, 360 degree camera, it says. But it's like almost like that game I got from the last episode based on Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of like that fantasy realm era of fighters and everything like that. So never really heard anything about this, if it's good or bad. So I'll be excited to check that one out. And then continuing with the generosity. So my friend Jason Polo, he has hooked me up plenty of times in the past. Too many games. I got this lovely PlayStation holder and some games I needed, and this little cool PlayStation pin. So he's always hooking me up, which I appreciate, Jason. And he definitely continued that at RetroGameCon. So let me pull out a couple of these here. And it's not all game related stuff. It's cool. He always has cool other PlayStation related stuff that he hooks me up with. So the first thing is a game though, and this is one that he found for a really good price, and he didn't need it. He just thought it was a really good price. So he actually passed the savings on and let me buy it. And it's a Squaresoft game that I need. It's like kind of more of an action RPG. I don't think it's as RPG-ish. It's a little more real-time combat and everything. Played a demo once, and I remember really liking it, but I've never played it since then. And that is Threads of Fate. I believe there's 2 characters you can play as, and I don't know if the levels are different when you play as them, or like it's 2 stories, something like that. It's been a long time since I played the demo, but I know there's the 2 main characters you can play as. So very, very, very excited to have this. Thank you so much, Jason. And then, because I don't want to hold it anymore, you can probably see here, he gave me an in-the-box Emerald DualShock analog controller. So really, really cool. Glad to have that. Even though it's not a game to add to the number count, it's still a really cool PS1 accessory. Very, very happy to have that. So thank you, Jason. And then he also gave me, this is a really cool thing he gave me, it's a hint book for the old retro arcade classic, The Tower of Druaga. And what's interesting about this is this booklet came inside one of the Namco Museum titles, but not one of the lettered ones that are advertised on the back. I have a few, two or three of the lettered versions of the game, but there was the regular versions of the game that just said Namco Museum and didn't have the individual letters on them. This is in one of those, so now I have this to put into the Namco Museum regular variant. So very odd and very cool thing to add to the collection, so thank you for that, Jason. And then 2 PlayStation Magazine demo discs. Another thing that's really cool is amassing the PlayStation demo discs, even if I'm not going for a full collection. But speaking of demo discs, this is probably my favorite thing of the demos that I've ever gotten so far. The Toa 2 one was pretty good too. But this is one of the PlayStation Underground demo discs, which I've had some of them in the past. In my childhood growing up, I've had them on the PlayStation Pursuit before. But this one stands out a little more, because this was the one where Final Fantasy VII was first playable on. And that's just so cool, and it's in fantastic shape. So it actually, looking at the disc, it looks like the same disc that's in Paradise Eve, except without the plain white background. It's got this like shiny, reflective CD. So really interesting to see that. I've never seen it before, but really cool just knowing the history behind it. And there's Sephiroth peeking out of the back. But super grateful for this, man. Thank you so much. And I think that might be where the generosity ends. I think the rest are just pickups, but I really wanted to shout out you guys for giving me the hookup once again. So thank you so much, guys. Okay, next I'm going to show off some long box titles for PS1 that I got. I got 3. There's actually more at this convention than I've ever seen at any convention. There was a seller that had probably 30 or more long box games. I would have loved to have been able to just get them all, but they were of varying degrees of condition. Some of them were just too beat up that I was like, no. I did get one that was a little beat up, but it's very hard to find this version. And then the rest of them, one of them was just one that I was replacing that I used to have on the Sega Saturn. So I was like, hey, now I can get rid of that one and have the PlayStation version. And then the other one is the one I've been looking for a while. So first one I got is that one that I mentioned I had on Sega Saturn. So I played this before. It's not that great of a game, but it's very nostalgic for me because when I first got a Saturn in like 8th grade, I was like, you know, going to buy pre-owned games from GameStop. And, you know, back in the day, you don't look up stuff as much on internet, or it was before the internet. No, there was internet, but I wasn't on the internet. And, I just went by either video game magazines or the cover. And this one sounded cool because I was really into Independence Day, I think, when it came out. And it's Shockwave Assault. So it's like a spaceship game with lots of FMV. It's not a FMV game, it's just got a lot of FMV in it. In fact, it's on 2 discs because all the chatter, radio chatter and everything was full motion video. Kind of like Star Fox-esque full motion video at the bottom of the screen, calling out what's going on during the mission and everything. Very nostalgic, like I said, but I don't think it's very good. But it's actually, I think the Shockwave series is on other platforms, maybe 3DO or something like that too, because I've heard of it before, but that was the only one I've played. This one I have in the jewel case, so this isn't a new edition number-wise, but this is the one I said it's kind of beat up, but you never see this, and it was actually only like $10, which it goes for a lot more than this usually, this variant. And the game is Fade to Black, which is a sequel to the game Flashback, if you ever played that on Genesis or Super Nintendo. That's a super nostalgic game of mine. Never played Fade to Black, either the one I had or this one. So I'm excited to see. I know it's probably a clunky early 3D game, but this long box is very hard to find, so that's why I got it. And this is an easy fix to glue or tape these back on. There's a special tape at Home Depot actually you can get that really works well for this. And the only problem is there is a tear on the side, but because I never see it and it was really cheap, that was one I had definitely get. So pick that one up. And then this is the one I was really looking forward to getting. And it was in pretty good shape too. It's all three of these. Well, no, the first one was jewel case long box, but the other two were these ones that have the art on the back. But this game is Return Fire, and it's kind of like a top-down multiplayer fun action strategy game. I read reviews and it's supposed to be really fun multiplayer. I think this was a 3DO title too. But what's really cool about this game is it has classical compositions for the music. So the soundtrack are these sweeping epic orchestral scores that are like, recognizable. They're not like, just generic classical music. It's stuff you'll go, oh my gosh, I know that. And it was really cool. I saw a video review of this once, and I was like, that's amazing. It really fits it makes it feel more like real militaristic feel. So really, really happy to get this one. And it was in great shape, other than a little bit of that art coming off that I can easily fix. But it's in really good shape. It has the foam, and the manual is in fantastic shape as well. So those are the long boxes I got at RetroGameCon. Okay, so the next games I got, this is a mix of some commons and not so commons. Actually, one of them is very uncommon. And I was very happy to get it, but this is just a mix of games I got. So, first one is a motorcycle game I haven't really seen before, so it's not really worth anything, but I don't have it. And that is Ducati World Racing Challenge. I think I grouped this up with a couple other games, so this one ended up being free because it was not much at all. So very cool to get that. I got that from the same vendor that I got some of the long box games from, so that was cool. And then a baseball game that I don't really see either, MLB Pennant Race. So it's funny how even with the sports games, there's ones that you go, I've never seen that. And you'd think they'd just be the common ones you see at thrift stores and stuff, but I know because I have a pretty photographic memory when it comes to game cases and stuff. So now this was a cool game. I played a demo back in the day, and a couple of my nephews really liked this game growing up. So I'm actually really excited to play this one. It's called Tai Fu Wrath of the Tiger, and it's a like kung fu tiger you play as that has like cool martial arts moves and everything. And I remember having really good graphics at the time. So it kind of has like this. It's made by DreamWorks Interactive, but it reminds me of like a Disney, anthropomorphic animal storyline. So maybe like an athletic kung fu panda that's not, because he's not fat and blubbery like whatever the character. I've never watched Kung Fu Panda, so bad reference. But anyway, yeah, pretty cool to have that one I've been looking forward to playing the full version of because I enjoyed the demo. And then this game, I played this on Saturn and I liked it. It's kind of cheesy. I think it's based off of a license from the era. But it's a side scroller with like kind of pre-rendered graphics, so it looks kind of weird, but it's charming to me. And it's called Skeleton Warriors, and this is one I've seen several times at a good price and almost bought, but I noticed like a tear in the spine, or the disc was really scratched, or something that I was like, nah, I'll wait. I'm glad I did. I did get it for a good price, so it's really cool to get that. And now this is one of the extremely uncommon games that I've heard of, but I don't think I've ever seen this in person, except for maybe when it was actually out in stores. Very odd game. This was one of the worst reviewed games by one of the reviewers in Electronic Gaming Monthly back in the day, but it was the one reviewer. I don't think they all reviewed it well. Maybe they did. I can't remember. The game is called Irritating Stick. A very odd title, but what it is a game where you basically guide a stick. It's like almost like a, it's not first person per se, but you see like a hand holding the stick, and you guide it through a maze of electrified fencing. So it's almost like the game Operation, where you reach in to get the body part. It's kind of, or the organ. It's kind of like that, except instead of hitting the sides, reaching for something, you're guiding it through a path. So it's a bunch of mazes and stuff, and it looks really cool. The art style looks really nice and everything too. It's got like a fireworks, electricity explosion effect and everything. So I'm excited for it. Never see it. Got a good price on it as well. So super cool to get that. Okay, I'm now down to the last few games that I got at RetroGameCon, and these are some of the biggies. These are either big RPGs that I didn't have. One is a game that I didn't even really know of. I remember seeing the name on my list of PlayStation games, but I've never seen it ever before at a con, at a store. So that was definitely a super awesome grab. But the first game I'm going to show is an RPG. It's kind of what you could consider like a Pokemon clone, because it's, you know, collecting and raising creatures to fight. You know, there was Digimon, there was Monster Rancher, which I've talked about on PlayStation Pursuit. And this was another one. This one was cool because it used your memory card saves to create the creatures. And the creatures are dragons, which is always cool. The game is called Dragon Seeds. So, very, very awesome game. Goes for about 50 plus, and I got it for well under that. So thanks again to Ken for hooking me up with a great deal, besides giving me Pandemonium 2. But this is a really cool game. I have a lot of friends who've always recommended this. A couple in particular I'm thinking of that have always said, oh, you gotta play Dragon Seeds. So I've wanted it for a while, but I always see it for 50 or more. So, and then one time I saw it for 50 and I was gonna bite the bullet and go back and get it, and it was gone when I was there. So very glad to add that one to the collection. The next one, actually my buddy Chris, who works at Microgame in Syracuse, he mentioned that he had this game and he brought it on the second day so I could buy it off him. And I got a good price on it because this is one that's in climbing, and that's kind of why I haven't gotten it. Because I'm like, oh man, I used to see it for this price and now it's going to this price. But I have the fourth one, but I didn't have Breath of Fire 3. And this is the one I wanted more because it's got beautiful 2D sprite work and stuff in it. And 4 has some good sprite work, but also has more 3D elements. And this one has just, I don't know, just something that caught my eye with the sprites in this one. This is still Sprite Lover channel, even though this is PlayStation Pursuit. So I still love myself a good sprite here and there. If only I had a bottle of Sprite to take a swig right there, that would have been perfect. Now these two RPGs I've been wanting for a while. This first one I'm going to show, it's a very early PlayStation RPG, and it's made by Camelot Studios, which one of my favorite developers. They made the Shining Force titles, which are super classic for me on Sega Genesis, and I can tell like by the text, the font, and everything. Oh, Golden Sun as well. If you've ever played those games, they're made by Camelot. I love that company, and I don't know how this fits because it was an early. I think it was reviewed poorly because it was on PlayStation going for 2D when 3D was the new fad. But now I just want to check it out for myself. And this used to be so cheap, and it keeps going up now. It is Beyond the Beyond, and I got a good deal on that one, so I'm very glad to finally have that before it climbs even further. And then my buddy Johnny hooked me up with this RPG, which I've wanted forever, and I actually have a friend of mine who's a little jealous that I got this, but it's a Konami RPG. Again, it has 2D graphics, which intrigues me more, but it has a nice mix of 3D and stuff too, with the battles and everything, and the game is Azure Dreams. And I've always loved that cover where he's looking over the edge, kind of like some of the artwork you've seen from the original Legend of Zelda, where Link's looking over off to the horizon. In fact, they used that same imagery for the new Breath of the Wild Zelda game that's coming out, where he's looking off over the vast horizon. Very evocative image, similar to that, but then it's got that cool tower in the background as well. So this looks really cool. I cannot wait to check it out. I've had several recommendations on checking it out, so really excited. And then the last game is that one I mentioned that I've never seen before, and it's very weird. Just the name, you'll be like, what? And it's 2-disc in one of those thinner 2-disc cases. It's Countdown Vampires. So, very odd looking game from the name, but when I did a little research, I kind of recalled it after the fact. It's basically a Resident Evil with vampires as the enemy game. So, I love the old pre-rendered background Resident Evil, so I'm pretty excited. And as you can see, it says disc 1 on here, and it's got the, I think it folds this way, yep. So 2 discs, fantastic shape. I looked it up and I got it for under the value it goes for. So actually I bundled that with irritating sticks, so I got a good deal on both of them. But really cool, fantastic turnout at RetroGameCon for the PlayStation Pursuit. So that was all of them. A good mess of games here. So I got to do myself some math again, and maybe this is a pretty big stack here. Maybe this will bring it up over the next cool milestone. So, suspense. Stick around, and I will let you know. Okay, the post Retro GameCon total is now 596 games for the PS1. 596. That's pretty crazy because that's 4 away from 600, which is almost halfway, which is just crazy. Like, I'm up to 600 games, which is a huge amount of games, but it's still not even halfway for the PlayStation Pursuit. But that's okay. I've made a lot of progress in 6 months, and I'm going to continue on these episodes, adding more and more. And I got a couple good games already in the pipeline coming up, so I can't wait to show you those. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and you know, if you can like, subscribe, comment. I like interaction on the videos, so if you have thoughts on some of the pickups I got, definitely let me know in the comments. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode.